Well, Mississippi State's bye week didn't just recharge the team, it might have saved their season. We'll dive into why the Bulldogs are built to end their losing streak.
You are Locked On Mississippi State, your daily podcast on the Mississippi State Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Jaron Spohr. I'm a national college football writer at Athlon Sports. That's Landon McBride. We've got a fun show for you today. Locked On Gators host Brandon Olsen joins the squad to talk to us a little more about the Gators, and him and I give our game predictions, so you don't want to miss that. We'll also have our recruiting update that we do every single Wednesday. Not a whole lot going on because we tackled a lot of it on Monday, but there have been some news in the recruiting world. But we got to go to Jeff Lebby's press conference that took place on Monday. Landon, is there anything that kind of stood out to you?
Well, I mean, he talked about how great the energy has been in the building, which you kind of expect after not a full week, essentially a week off. Guys get some time to recharge and then come back. Mm-hmm. But the thing that jumped out to me was how much he talked about offensive line play. He talked about we have to keep Blake clean, and then how having this extra time off has allowed to work on a little bit of fundamentals with some of these guys that they haven't had a chance to since the season started.
Yeah, no, that was something that caught my eye too. He also obviously, and I mentioned it in the tease, talked about the bye week and just how it kind of basically how it came at a good time. Just because the guys need ability to just kind of go and be normal for a day or two is what he said. And, we've talked about it a lot that I don't like bye weeks, but if one could come at the right time, this would have been it. First off, it's at the perfect spot. It's at your halfway point of your regular season. You're through 6 games. You got 6 games left. But also with all the injuries they have. And he did talk about Fluff Bothwell. I want to bring that up. But Brandon and I talked about it in the next segment. So we're not going to talk about it here, what all he had to say. So you'll have to stay tuned for that. But, yeah, I mean, that's the big thing. Get guys healthy and get them back on the field. We'll get the availability report later on tonight. And so then we'll get to see where guys like Albert Reese, Isaac Smith, guys like that are at. But I also think, you get really high from the upset victory over Arizona State. Come back down to earth with back-to-back losses. This now lets you kind of breathe, take a second, and then, hey, let's go finish this year strong.
Yeah, it gave you a chance to reset, and it is pretty much right in the middle of the season. So, that helps too because you have enough game tape to where hey, here's some things we need to fix. Here's what we're doing well. So it gives you some targets, for the practices that those couple extra practices without a game that you can kind of drill down on a little bit. But yeah, I mean, that's what he said. And I think it's kind of been something that he has noticed about Blake Shapen holding the ball a little bit too long because of his answer of there's not a new crazy scheme that's going to give us the ability to hold the ball for 5 seconds, right. Which makes me think that might have been a point of emphasis.
Yeah, and it's funny you talked about that quote because I just saw this quote right before we started, and it was Luke Falk was actually talking about what former Washington State quarterback, and he was talking about Mike Leach, and he said Mike Leach used to say every sack is on the quarterback, and he said that used to frustrate me so much, but then now looking back, like that was actually really smart. And no, not every sack is actually on the quarterback is what he said, but if you take the mindset as a quarterback that every sack's on me, you'll now figure out ways to fix that. Get the ball out quicker, go to your check down, scramble, change protection. He listed all these things that now if you blame every sack on yourself, it's easier to fix. Whereas if you say, well, I couldn't avoid that. That was the line they busted and stuff like that. You're not going to do something to try to fix it. And so I think Blake Shapen kind of needs to have that mindset. Yeah, the O-line hasn't been great. And we knew it would be a work in progress this year, and they've shown a lot of improvement, but they've also showed the areas that they still have to improve. And Lebby's right on where there are things that Shapen can do also to help his offensive line. Coaches and play callers can do a lot of things to help the quarterback and help the offensive line as well by scheming things up differently. But then it's up to the quarterback to actually execute what's schemed up. And sometimes that is, hey, we're trying to get the ball out quick. It's not open. We got to throw it away. Or sometimes it's, hey, guy's not open. We got to take off and run.
And when you have a quarterback who has played as much football as Shapen has, he has to be able to recognize pressure looks.
Yes.
And make the adjustments accordingly, whether that's switch to a hot route, slide protection, something like that. If it was a freshman quarterback back there, you can't really expect them to immediately diagnose a defense and get protections right most of the time. He should be able to see that coming at this point in his career. If he's not, that's a whole other conversation.
Well, and that would be a big concern. And that's something that we've brought up, though, that we're kind of concerned with, because it does kind of seem that he makes some mistakes that a guy that has played as long as he has shouldn't make. And so hopefully they get that corrected against Florida this week. But all right, coming up next, Brandon Olsen and I, we have a long talk about the Gators. He's not thrilled by how things are going on, but you'll definitely want to stick around and see what all he has to say. Well, Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride with more IIHS top safety pick awards than anyone else. That's as of August of 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings the same intention to how we craft every model. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. Because like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. And Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton cross training tread powered by Peloton IQ. It's their most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move. Whether you're running, lifting, or cross training with your favorite instructors, this is training reimagined, and Peloton is built for breakthroughs with tools that help you plan, stay motivated, and reach peak performance. I personally love how Peloton IQ system offers real-time strength coaching. It actually tracks your reps, suggests the right weights, and corrects your form, making every rep safer and smarter. The swivel screen is a game changer. You can go from running on the tread to strength training without missing a beat. So let yourself run, lift, flex, and push forward. Explore the new Peloton cross training tread today at onepeloton.com. All right, we're back. Like I said, we're joined with Brandon Olsen from Locked On Gators to preview this matchup this week. And how are you feeling this? We're still at Wednesday, so we're a little ways out, but how are you feeling?
I'm so torn. I want Florida to win. I want to make that clear. I'm not doing the whole like, oh, well, if you lose, then you get more it's more likely you fire Billy. I don't care.
Right.
I wanted them to beat USF and they lost that game too. So it doesn't matter if I want them to win or not. But I'm torn because so much of this comes down to me not trusting Billy, not trusting this offense. But like it's homecoming for Florida. They're still at the Swamp. It's still tough to win.
Right.
I don't know. I'm torn on it because I think Mississippi State is a much better team than I think most people think of. Like a lot of people go, oh yeah, it's Mississippi State, destroy them, and it's like, okay, well, this is a Mississippi State team that's gone down to the wire a few times, beat Arizona State. One thing I keep coming back to is Jeff Lebby's yet to win an SEC game, and I feel like that's such a stupid thought to have, but I'm like, look, like Billy struggles on the road. He's 0-14 against ranked teams on the road. Some things it's just like it's hard to get that first one.
Yeah.
But I feel like Billy's just handing them out at this point. So I feel like I feel like me bringing up that Jeff Lebbyy hasn't won an SEC game yet is like, oh, that's the most Florida thing ever. He's about to do it.
Yeah, and the one thing going for y'all big time, though, is it's at home, and that's Mississippi State's struggle, not just in SEC games, but on the road as well. We saw with Texas A&M just kind of pulled away in the second half. Injury situation for both teams. Jeff Lebbyy talked about Fluff Bothwell, who's obviously their top running back and makes the whole run game go. Now, Booth is really good as well, but Bothwell is the one that makes it go. But he said in his press conference that he's doubtful. He said for him, it's going to be a little bit, a bit better every single day. He's incredibly encouraged with how things have gone up until this point, but he's done everything possible he can to be ready to play. So we'll wait and see on that. So I guess he kind of left it open for him to play, but then said he's doubtful as well. I think if he doesn't play, I don't really see much of a chance, even though, like I said, Booth is really good, and I think they'll do creative things with him because he's a different type of running back than Bothwell. It's just Bothwell has been so good, and you can see the clear difference when they had him versus Tennessee and Texas A&M early in that game versus when he's not on the field.
Yeah, Bothwell, first off, hell of a name.
Yeah.
Was really hoping to get to say that a bunch this week.
Mhm.
But I'm also just interested because I feel like last year when Florida and Mississippi State played, like I feel like a lot of Florida fans went into that just like, oh yeah, they're gonna annihilate them. And
Right.
sure the score wasn't very close, but like I feel like for a good bit of that game, Mississippi State was playing better than the score indicated, and I hate
Right.
using that logic. But I feel like Jeff Lebby, and I've said this 1,000 times in my show. Like, I'm not a Jeff Lebby fan at all. Don't
Right.
like him, but he's done a good job. He's done a good job in Mississippi State. He's building them back up. I'm interested to see how he wants to take what Texas A&M did and try to implement that some of that against Florida. I don't think that Mississippi State's offensive line is not going to come out and punch people in the mouth the way Texas A&M's offensive line is. I don't think any team is really going to come out and do that except maybe Miami. But there were against Texas and Texas A&M deep shots available, especially built off of the run game. And so I look at Jeff Lebby just trying to take those shots and trying to attack there against a Florida defense that D-line's been banged up, is going to be banged up. Like we're not really expecting a lot of people to come back at this point. A lot of the names that are listed as out last week still going to be out. Like Caleb Banks not coming back, I think, at all this year, to be honest. But I think that a lot of it's also weird because Florida is they're gonna have 1,000 names on that list. That just know that, expect that if you're a Mississippi State fan and you look at that availability report, Florida's gonna have 1,000 names on that list. Some of them are guys that we've known have been out for the year. Some of them are gonna pop up out of nowhere. But yeah, I think for Florida, just a lot of the injuries have happened already. Like guys aren't really getting banged up right now, or at least in game. But it's just gonna be tough. I've never, I think, been more annoyed at a team right now because I think this is an incredibly talented team, but
Right.
for some reason, just they do the Brees Hall quote from a couple weeks ago with the Jets running back, where he's like, like other teams shoot themselves in the foot, we shoot ourselves in the head. Like that's what Florida's been doing lately, and honestly, just terrifies me that they're going to do that again. If they might do that, like, yeah, it could be ugly.
Yeah, that's kind of my biggest question mark is what Florida offense shows up and what Mississippi State defense shows up, because the Florida offense against Texas was really, really good. And part of that was Wilson just kind of went Super Saiyan over there on them. I mean, he was incredible in that game. And then Mississippi State, their defense kind of has been the surprise for me because they've been much improved. They were like 130th last year. And last time I looked, they were like top 50 this year or top 60, I think it was. And they were really good in the first three quarters against A&M, but the fourth quarter, you could tell they were just worn out, and the game started to get away from them at that point. They've had some injuries. We'll see what Isaac Smith is listed because he's been out. But yeah, I'm curious what kind of Mississippi State defense shows up because it's been really good so far.
Yeah, Bulldogs barking, man. They're ready for this game. But for Florida, I mean, I'll be interested. I think the teams should play Florida as aggressively as possible, and so I think that you'll see a Mississippi State defense that probably comes out more aggressive than usual, because, and I've been saying this for a long while, like Florida has not given you a reason to respect their passing game.
Right.
And so I could see defenses just saying, hey, we're going to come up and line up. And look, some teams aren't going to have just the personnel to do that. I don't know if Mississippi State's going to have it because, I mean, again, like you mentioned, like Dallas Wilson, quiet game against Texas A&M, but that wasn't because he wasn't good enough. That was because there was a ton of pressure in the backfield. And so I'm very interested to see the approach. But if I'm a DC at any point, I'm saying I'm not respecting the passing game at all. I'm going to pin my ears back and get after Lagway. Just try to stop the run early, pin my ears back, get after Lagway. And if he doesn't react and he doesn't make you pay for it, I'm going to keep doing it. And so far, that's been the plan for a lot of teams. And it's been working, and that's incredibly embarrassing that that's been working. Florida hasn't made him pay yet.
Yeah, and we can kind of segue into the quarterbacks because I was high on Lagway going into this year, as I think everyone was. I mean, the talent was there. I still think he's probably more injured than people are letting on, especially with that shoulder injury he had in the offseason where he wasn't throwing at some points. I still think that's probably the biggest issue. At least that's, as a supporter of his, I hope that's the biggest issue of his. Part of it is not the creativity of the offense. Napier, I don't think, has done a great job either, putting him in a position to be successful. But it's going to be a totally weird quarterback matchup this week. Is Shapen is that veteran guy that he's just a solid college quarterback. He's probably not going to be a starter in the NFL. He's not that kind of guy, but he's just a solid college quarterback. He's that perfect kind of bridge to the future, who they think it is, in Camario Taylor. And but Lagway is the future. Like, he is the present, he's the future, he's everything for Florida. So it's just a completely different quarterback matchup. And Lagway is a guy that is so talented that could be and really should be a first round pick when it's all said and done if he lives up to it.
Yeah, I think that the offseason injuries just destroyed Lagway's development for a little bit. And by destroyed, I don't mean beyond reparation. But really stunted his development a bit, because he was always the guy, and we've had these conversations before where people talk about, oh, he threw 5 picks against LSU, why didn't you take him out? Personally, no QB of mine, if I were a coach, is ever going to throw 5 picks, because I'm taking him out before that 5th one. Like, there's no way I'm going to let a QB do that. But also, DJ Lagway is someone who needs reps. Like, that's what he's lacked. That's always been the thing he's lacked, is reps. And so he needs those reps. So keeping him in the game was the decision there. They know he needs reps to get better. He hasn't been available. The ankle, foot, calf issue pops up every single game. Against Texas, it popped up on the first drive. He looked good. He rolled out, threw the ball away, hopping on one foot, throwing the ball out of bounds. If DJ Lagway gets time, he's going to be, I think, pretty solid. I still believe that, yeah, if he bounces back from this year and takes a step next year, wherever that may be, depending on a coach, maybe,
Right.
I think that he's still going to be a high draft pick if he just reins things back and just settles in again. Blake Shapen is someone that I've been very open about on the show. We talked about in the SEC preview before the year. I like Blake Shapen. I liked him at Baylor. I think I have a soft spot for Baylor guys. That's fine. But Blake Shapen is someone that I liked coming over. I was disappointed that last year he didn't make it through the Florida game. But even this year, when Mississippi State's line was set at, I'm pretty sure it was 4.5. I was taking the over, because I'm like, look, they get Blake Shapen back, and I think he's a guy that, not a Heisman, never going to be that, never going to be an early round draft pick, but he, like you mentioned, he's a good college quarterback. Like, he could just make some plays happen, keep the offense on schedule, on task, and especially when you're a team that is going to be an underdog in most of their games, like Mississippi State, like that's the perfect guy to have, because those underdogs, they're not trying to get the explosive, or they're trying to, but they're not going to get the explosive plays very frequently. Like, they got to march down and go make it happen. And I think he's the guy that can do that. He gets the ball to the playmakers when they need it. Obviously needs to improve still, but I mean, look, he uses his legs, I think, in smart instances, usually not a big killer there on the ground. You know, Florida fans, you won't have to worry about Blake Shapen pulling a Marcel Reed or Arch Manning on you with the big gains. But I do think that Blake Shapen brings enough to the table to keep you on schedule, on task, and just make you threatening at that point. And that's really, like, that's his job. And so I don't love him as a Heisman. I wouldn't want him over DJ Lagway, but like, he's a quality player. And I think that if DJ Lagway isn't the quality that we've seen him be, Blake Shapen has the ability to make this more of a battle, again, just by keeping the offense on schedule.
Yeah, you mentioned the explosive plays, and he is a guy that can kind of grind out a game even if the explosive plays aren't there. But it does feel like his confidence kind of goes when he doesn't hit those explosives. Because against Arizona State, he was hitting them left and right, and that's one reason why they pulled off that upset. Tennessee, he was even hitting them mostly. He was a little more sporadic, but he was hitting them mostly, and that's why they were in that game. A&M, he couldn't hit them at all, and then that's why the game ended up getting away. So it'll be interesting to see if he's able to hit a couple of those to Brendan Thompson, Anthony Evans, if they're able to get behind the defense and make some plays. But yeah, what's your prediction for the game?
I'm gonna pick Florida, okay? Because I feel like I have to pick Florida. It's in the swamp. They're still dangerous there, but I think I've gotten to a point where I genuinely would put nothing past a Billy-led team. As much as I hate saying that, and like, Locked On Gators listeners, you're gonna hear me say this, and then in a couple minutes you're gonna hear me talk to our starting tight end Hayden Hansen. And so it feels weird, but like, I wouldn't put anything past a Billy Napier-led team, just because we've seen them lose games that they're favored. I do think that the 10.5 point spread was a lot when it opened. I thought that was Vegas has way more confidence in Florida than I do. But I do think that, Florida lets teams in. You lost the USF game not because USF's amazing, but because you let teams stay in. Florida's been more penalized at home than on the road this year. They've shot themselves in the foot every opportunity they get to. And look, opposing teams, they're going to keep giving you bullets to shoot yourself in the foot if you're going to keep doing it. And so I'm going to pick Florida. I'm not super confident in it. I think Florida's the better team. I think Florida should win this game. I just have zero faith, less than zero faith in Billy Napier right now.
Yeah, and kind of what you mentioned is the reason why I'm going to pick Mississippi State 27-24 as my prediction, is because you said it seems like Florida always just keeps teams in the game when it's like, okay, now it's time for them to put their kill punch in there. They just can't quite do it. And a lot of times it's bit them, especially this year. At the end of last year, it didn't bite them. They go 4-0 at the end, and that's why all the expectations were there. But I think if they let this Mississippi State team kind of hang in there and kind of let them believe like, hey, we can pull off this upset on the road, then I think that's why Mississippi State will pull it off. Because the one thing I have seen from this team is they do kind of struggle with confidence. And so if you punch them in the mouth early, a lot of times they're not able to respond. The Arizona State game, they jumped out early on them, and that's why they ended up winning the game. And obviously they had to make a big play late to win it, but they jumped out early. And then in Tennessee, they played well early in that game as well. They scored on the technically first drive. I guess the guy muffed the punt, so then they scored right second drive maybe technically, but they scored early in that game to take a lead. And so if Florida allows them to hang around, I think that's exactly what Mississippi State wants. But yeah, thanks so much for joining us today. It's going to be a lot of fun on Saturday.
Yeah, hopefully it's going to be a lot of fun. I don't know. Billy tends to ruin my weekends right now.
I understand. Hey, James Franklin's out there for you if you want to test that. Not feeling it? Well, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you.
And the holidays are going to be here before you know it, which is exciting. But getting your home ready for guests and celebrations can feel like a lot. Maybe your serveware needs a refresh, or the guest room could use new bedding. Wayfair is everything you need to get your home holiday ready. From Christmas trees and wreaths to bedding, cookware, and outdoor inflatables, it's your one-stop shop for every room in the house. Wayfair makes it easy to personalize your home for the holidays with a huge selection for every style and budget, and with free and easy delivery, even on the big stuff, you can get everything you need without the hassle of huge delivery fees. That last part, that's my favorite part. I've talked about this many times. When I moved up here from Wichita Falls, Texas, I came from an apartment. I needed all new furniture because I was starting to rent a house. I went to Wayfair and I bought tons of furniture, a couch, a wall mount for a TV entertainment system. I bought outdoor furniture. I bought all different kinds of stuff. And it was so cheap. And someone that was coming from a job that I didn't make a whole lot of money, I needed it to be cheap. And it was also very simple to put together. I'm not a handyman. My wife would probably like me to be more of one, but I'm not a great handyman. But it was very simple to put together. And so that was also very, very helpful. So get organized, refreshed, and ready for the holidays for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. And when the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Need parts fast for a project? Supply House has next-day delivery. Talk about a game changer. The part finder tools and 3D schematics can save you hours on jobs where every detail matters. Their Trade Master perks like priority shipping and dedicated support make the whole process smoother. Join the free Trade Master program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and dedicated support line. Visit thesupplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. All right. Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Again, I want to say thank you to Brandon for joining us. That was a lot of fun. He is going with the Gators. I did like how he was quiet at the end when I brought up James Franklin could be his next coach. But yeah, he said he didn't want to he's not saying anything until Napier is fired, and he told his that. So I will honor that.
Yeah.
Because he's basically said he's been teased too much too often. But yeah, recruiting news for Mississippi State, not a whole lot to dive into, just because we dove into it so much on Monday. But they're still kind of looking at a couple different corners that was kind of mentioned. Sean Church is one, Chris Brunson, Keywan Johnson. We brought up Keywan Johnson before, South Carolina commit. Seems like they're going to opt to take at least one more corner in the class, or maybe even go to the transfer portal for that position.
Yeah, it seems that way. And I mean, he'd be a good one to get, but it'll be interesting to kind of see how it shakes out with how everything has been moving with this recruiting class right now. And speaking of movement, one of the offensive linemen commits, the JUCO Jermaine Mitchell. He's set for a Georgia visit. And so hopefully, able to hold on to him. He's the really big, I mean, they're all really big. They're all built like Phil Oldholt, but he's one of those big guys that they've got committed right now that you hope you're able to hold on to him with him going to Georgia.
Yeah, that's one you got to keep an eye on, especially because you already lost one commit, Charles Humphrey, in that class. So we'll see about that. I did think it was interesting that they mentioned Ole Miss commit safety Braylon Williams is someone that they're kind of eyeballing, but they also mentioned that they could go to the transfer portal. But it looks like they want to add another safety, and it's kind of surprising because they got rid of Jax Poe. Well, hopefully they didn't get rid of him, but that's kind of been the reports. Jax Poe, Tamario Johnson, maybe those guys just decommitted on their own. But that kind of surprised me because when we broke through it, it was like, okay, well, two guys left, but if this 5-year rule goes the way they think, they're going to add or keep two guys that they didn't think. So the numbers made sense. But then now it seems like they're trying to add another person, and now the numbers don't make sense again.
Yeah, but I mean, if they go transfer portal, maybe they want someone who can help them a little bit quicker, and they think those guys would take a little bit of development. So I could see how that math would still make sense. You want someone who you feel you could slot in immediately instead of develop. But going after a different high school recruit would be an interesting twist in all of this.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On SEC. Chris Gordy breaks down the best conference in college sports, from the rivalries to the championship and every game in between. Find Locked On SEC on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Jaron. That's Landon. Follow us, Locked On Mississippi State. We're on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. We post daily videos Monday through Friday. Check that out. We'll have our pregame and postgame videos back for Saturday. Hopefully rooting on a win. So we'll see. But until next time, Hail State.
Hail State.